Journey to the West, an audio drama series. Chapter 17, Part 2. We spoke of Wukong, who was on his way back to the Guanyin Monastery. Landing his cloud, he shouted, "Master!" Sanzang was just eagerly waiting for his return. When he saw Xingzhe appear before him, he was delighted. But when he saw that he had no gashaya in his hands, he became fearful again and asked, "How come you still don't have the gashaya?" Xingzhe pulled out a note from his sleeves and handed it to Sanzang, explaining, "Master, turns out that monster was friends with the dead old bastard. He had a little imp deliver this note to invite the old monk to attend the feast of the Buddha's robe. It was Elder Sun who beat the little imp to death before transforming into the old monk. I went into his cave and tricked a cup of tea from him. I then asked him to show me the gashaya, but he wouldn't take it out. Just when we were sitting down, some patrol out there suddenly leaked the truth and he started fighting me. We fought till this time of the day without declaring a winner. He saw it was getting late, so he slipped back into the cave and shut the stone gates tight. Elder Sun had no choice but come back for now." Sanzang asked, "How are your skills compared to his?" Xingzhe answered, "I can't overpower him much. We are very much even." Sanzang finished reading the note before handing it to the abbot, asking, "Could it be that your master is also an evil spirit?" Panicked, the abbot prostrated himself and said, "Dear Lord, my master is indeed human. It's only that the great Black King managed to obtain human form, so he often came into the temple to discuss scriptures with my master. He taught my master some tricks about conserving his energy and feeding on air. That's why they address each other as friends." Xingzhe said, "These monks are no spirits. They all face the sky with their round heads and stomp the ground with their rectangular feet. They may be larger and taller than Elder Sun, but they are not spirits. Look at what the invitation was saying. Your young pupil, bear. This thing must be a black bear that turned into a spirit." Sanzang asked, "A bear is a type of beast. How could it turn into a spirit?" Xingzhe chuckled. "Elder Sun is also a beast, and I managed to become the heaven-equaling great sage. How am I any different from him? I guess any creature in this world who has 9 orifices could potentially cultivate to become an immortal." Sanzang then asked, "You just said his power is even with yours. How can you beat him and get my gashaya back then?" Xingzhe said, don't worry, I know what to do." Just as they were discussing, the monks served them a vegetarian dinner, which they later ate. Sanzang asked for a lamb and again went to rest in the front hall. The other monks, meanwhile, lie down to sleep against walls and inside temporary tents. Only the back room was left for the chamber heads to rest. It was a quiet and clear evening. Resting in the hall that night, Sanzang could not keep his mind off the gashaya and naturally did not sleep soundly. Suddenly, he turned to see white light shining through the window, so he hurriedly got up and said, "Wukong, it's light out. Go find the gashaya now." Xingzhe rolled over and jumped up to find the many monks already standing in attendance with warm water in hand. Xingzhe said, "You people take good care of my master. Now the sun is leaving." Sanzang got out of bed and grabbed him, asking, "Where are you heading?" Xingzhe answered, "I think this whole thing is really Guanyin Bodhisattva's fault. She has this monastery here, so she is the one receiving all the offerings. Yet she allows this monster to be her next-door neighbor. I will go look for her in the South Sea and have a word with her. I'll have her come here in person to ask the monster for the gashaya back." Sanzang asked, "If you do go, when will you come back?" Xingzhe answered, "At the earliest, before breakfast is over, and at the latest, I should have the matter wrapped up by noon. You monks, keep serving with care. Elder Sun shall be on his way now." By the time he finished talking, he was already gone. In moments, he arrived at the South Sea. He stopped the cloud for a better look, and what a view it was. The endless ocean merged with heaven, as auspicious glow shrouded the universe within. Snowy waves and thunderous roars up through the azure skies, and in the middle of the sea was a mountain emitting every color of the rainbow. "'Tis the true great realm of Guanyin, Mount Podolak of the South Sea before your eyes." A marvelous place indeed. High peaks shot up into the clouds, and on the mountains grew an endless variety of rare plants. Her palace was covered with glaze, and the road to the cave of Tidal Beat was paved with turtle shells. Parrots chattered under the green shadows of willow as peacocks sung from inside the purple bamboo grove. On rocks with wavy patterns stood majestic guardians. Before the agate beeches was the one and only mighty Mu Cha. Xingzhe had no time to take in all the extraordinary scenery before landing his cloud straight in the bamboo groves. The many guardians were already there to greet him, saying, "Bodhisattva told us earlier that the great sage has chosen the road of goodness and spoke very highly of you. Now that you are charged with escorting the Tang monk, where did you get the time to come here?" Xingzhe answered, "It is because I have to protect the Tang monk that I came across this matter on the journey. I came specifically to see Bodhisattva. If you don't mind, please let her know of my arrival." The guardians therefore delivered the message to the cave entrance. Bodhisattva then summoned him inside. Xingzhe followed the order and walked forward before arriving under the treasure lotus dais and prostrating himself. Bodhisattva asked, "What brought you here?" Xingzhe answered, "My master passed by your monastery on his way. You accept offerings from the mortal world, but allowed a black bear spirit to live as your neighbor. He stole my master's kashaya. I went to demand it back several times to no avail, so I came today to ask you for it instead." Bodhisattva replied, "How very insolent the way you monkey talk. If it was a bear spirit who stole your kashaya, why are you here asking me for it? It was all because you sinful monkey dare show off your treasure and expose it to the eyes of the vile. And you follow that with wicked acts of summoning wind and intensifying fire. You burned down a monastery which serves as one of my way stations in the mortal world, and somehow you have the nerve to act up in my place." Xingzhe heard Bodhisattva's words and realized that she knew everything that happened in the past and future. So he hastily bowed and said, "Bodhisattva, please forgive the sins of your disciple. You are exactly right. I just hate the fact that the monster wouldn't give me the kashaya back and master would recite that spell again. I simply can't stand the headache. That's why I came to bother you, Bodhisattva. May you have a heart of mercy, Bodhisattva, and help me capture that monster so we can retrieve the kashaya and head westward." Bodhisattva answered, "That monster has many tricks up his sleeves and is certainly no weaker than you in any way." "Fine. For the sake of the Tang monk, I will make the trip with you." Xingzhe heard her words and bowed again as thanks. He then accompanied her out of the gate before riding on auspicious clouds together. Soon they arrived at Black Wind Mountain. Having landed the cloud, they followed the paths to search for the cave. Just as they were walking, right under a slope appeared a Taoist. He was holding a glass plate in his hand, and in the plate were 2 magic pellets. The man was just walking forward when Xingzhe ran straight into him, wielded his rod, and struck right down on his head. With that strike, the man's brains burst out and blood shot out from his inside. Astonished, Bodhisattva said, "You are still one unruly monkey indeed. He didn't steal your kashaya. You never even met and have no grievance against each other. Why did you kill him?" Xingzhe explained, "You don't know this person, Bodhisattva. He's a friend of the black bear spirit. Yesterday, he was sitting on that grassy meadow along with a scholar in white. They talked about how that black monster's birthday would be the day after tomorrow, and they were invited to celebrate in this Feast of the Buddha's Robe. He was supposed to congratulate the monster for his birthday before attending the Feast of the Buddha's Robe tomorrow. That's why I recognized him. He must be on his way to send his birthday greetings today." Bodhisattva said, "If that's the case, so be it." Only then did Xingzhe go and pick the Taoist up. He turned out to be a grey wolf. The plate next to him had characters engraved on the bottom, which read, "Ling Xu Zi Zhi." Ling Xu Zi would be the Taoist religious title, literally meaning Master Transcending Void. Zhi means to make, so the engraving meant made by Master Transcending Void. Xingzhe saw it and laughed. What luck, what luck! It gives Elder Sun convenience and saves Bodhisattva's energy. This monster confessed without a beating, and that monster shall meet his end today. Bodhisattva asked, What do you mean, Wukong? Xingzhe explained, Bodhisattva, Wukong here has got an idea called tricking him at his own trick. I wonder if Bodhisattva is willing to play along. Bodhisattva said, Tell me. Xingzhe then said, Bodhisattva, look, there are 2 magic pellets on this plate. They will serve as our present for that monster when we meet. The back of the plate has 4 characters engraved on it, reading 灵虚子志. This will be our subpoena for that monster. If you do this my way, Bodhisattva, I can plan things out for you, then no weapon will be needed and no war will take place. The monster will suffer and the Buddhist robe will reappear right before our eyes. If you don't do this my way, Bodhisattva, then you can head west and I can head east. Consider the Buddhist robe a gift already given away, and Tang Sanzang will end up with nothing in those hands of his. Bodhisattva smiled and said, This monkey has a smooth tongue. Xingzhe said, I don't deserve the compliment. It's just a simple plan of mine. Bodhisattva asked, What is your plan? Xingzhe answered, Given the engraving on the plate reading 灵虚子志, I believe the Taoist is called 灵虚子. Bodhisattva, should you follow my plan, you can transform into this Taoist. I, on the other hand, will eat one of the pellets before transforming into a slightly bigger one. You will hold this plate with 2 magic pellets on it, Bodhisattva, and head to the monster's place to celebrate his birthday. Let the monster have the bigger pellet. Once the monster swallows it in one gulp, Elder Sun will work his way from the inside. If he refuses to present the Buddha's robe, I will weave a new one straight from his intestines. Bodhisattva didn't have another idea, so she could only nod. Xingzhe smiled and asked, What do you think? And there was Bodhisattva, wielding her great mercy, boundless power, and infinite forms, moved her will from her heart, then her body with her will. In the blur of an instant, she transformed into the immortal who called himself 灵虚子. Xingzhe saw her change and exclaimed, Brilliant! Absolutely brilliant! Is this a bodhisattva who is a spirit, or a spirit who is a bodhisattva? Bodhisattva chuckled. Wukong, be it bodhisattva or spirit, it all comes down to a single thought. If you trace their origins, all came from none. Xingzhe was instantly enlightened, and with a turn he transformed into a magic pellet. The pellet he became did end up looking slightly bigger. Bodhisattva noted which was which before taking the glass plate and coming straight to the gate of the monster's cave. She had a good look at it, and it was indeed an unworldly place most suitable for cultivation. Mountain streams played music with their currents, soothing to the ear. Deer and cranes sung songs on peaks and inside the woods, moving a listener's heart. Bodhisattva took everything in and, secretly pleased, thought to herself, The sinful creature who took over this cave seems to know a thing or two about the way after all. And that was why she was already feeling merciful in her heart. When they reached the cave entrance, some of the imps guarding the gates recognized the guest and said, Great Immortal Ling Xu is here. Some went in to make a report while others led the guest inside. Soon, the monster came out of the gates and said, Ling Xu, thank you for taking the trouble to bless us with your godly presence. This humble home is lit up by your arrival. Bodhisattva said, This humble Taoist respectfully presents one magical pellet to wish you a long life. The 2 formally greeted each other before sitting down. The monster brought up what took place the day before, but instead of engaging in the conversation, Bodhisattva hurriedly put forward the pellet plate and said, Great King, please accept the humble regard of this little Taoist. She had her eyes on the bigger pellet and pushed it towards the monster. May you have a long life. The monster also pushed the other pellet over and handed it to Bodhisattva, saying, I would like to take it together with you, Ling Xuzi. After the gesture, the monster was about to swallow the pellet when it rolled down his throat on its own. Once inside, Wukong returned to his original form and landed with his limbs stretched out, causing the monster to drop on the ground. Bodhisattva then showed her true form and asked the monster for the Buddha's robe. By that time, Xingzhe already came back out from the nostril. Bodhisattva feared the monster would become unruly, so she tossed a band onto his head. The monster got up, grabbed his spear, and charged forward, but Xingzhe and Bodhisattva were already in the air. Bodhisattva began reciting the true spell which gave the monster a headache as he dropped the spear and rolled on the ground. In midair, the handsome Monkey King laughed till he dropped. On flat ground, the black bear monster rolled around in torment. The monster began to blabber. "I am willing to convert. Please spare my life." Fearing that all the effort would be wasted, Xingzhe attempted to hit the monster at once, but Bodhisattva hurriedly stopped him and said, "Don't harm his life. I have a place where he can be useful." Xingzhe asked, "With a monster like this, where could you possibly make him useful if not kill him?" Bodhisattva answered, "The backside of that Mount Podolak of mine hasn't got a guard in place. I will take him back to serve as a divine mountain guardian." Xingzhe laughed and said, "You sure are the savior of suffering and mercy, unwilling to harm even a single life. If Elder Sun were capable of such spells, I would recite them 1,000 freaking times. However many black bears there may be, I would send them all to death." The monster, on the other hand, had been awake for some time, but the pain was becoming truly unbearable. So he could only prostrate on the ground and beg, "Please spare my life. I am willing to convert to the true fruit." Only then did Bodhisattva descend with her auspicious glow. She thereby laid her hand on his head and passed on the commandments. Afterwards, she told him to bring his long spear and serve next to her. And that was the day when the black bear's ambitious heart finally settled down, and his infinite unruliness came to a close. Bodhisattva then instructed, "Wukong, it's time for you to head back. Do serve the Tang monk well. Don't become lazy or start trouble." Xingzhe said, "I'm deeply grateful for you coming such a long way. Your disciple should accompany you on your return trip." Bodhisattva said, "There is no need." And so Xingzhe held the Gashaya and kowtowed to bid farewell. Bodhisattva hence brought the bear straight back to the seas. We do not know what happens next. Please wait until the next chapter.